In today's world, providing seamless digital experiences is more than just a user expectation. It's a requirement for businesses to maintain loyalty and drive revenue. That's why product teams at leading SaaS companies use FullStory, the digital experience intelligence platform that tells you everything you need to know about how people interact with your digital experience. FullStory automatically uncovers issues that cause users to drop out of funnels, as well as highlights what's working so you can easily prioritize which improvements to make next to increase conversion rates. Dive deeper into sessions and press play to see the real customer experience behind the data in high-fidelity, private by default session replay. Once you prioritize an impactful issue, solving it together across teams is easy. FullStory powers seamless communication by integrating with your existing collaboration tools like Jira and Slack. This will link your teams to the exact place and time where an issue occurred so they can start working on a fix right away. With a single click, engineers can access comprehensive developer tools and find out what was slow, broken, or buggy. And product owners can share opportunities for growth to inspire action across teams. Use our powerful yet intuitive interface to ask questions across your entire data set, or get answers to questions you didn't even know to ask with our easy-to-digest dashboards. Understand where users are most engaged with instantly generated, fully retroactive heat maps. And finally, measure the outcomes of your efforts and rest easy knowing your next user won't run into the same problems. Create a more perfect digital experience for your SaaS business with FullStory. Visit fullstory.com to get started today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Product-Led Festival. We really hope you're enjoying the festival so far, because we've got even more insights heading your way. All sessions are designed to be interactive and give you the chance to engage with our speakers, so come ready to get involved with your questions and comments. For all things product-led growth, don't forget to check out the Product-Led Alliance memberships at productledalliance.com. Sit back and enjoy the next session.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. I'm really pleased to introduce our next speaker for today, Amanda Myers, who is going to be doing a presentation called "This Meeting Could Have Been an Email." So I'll hand it over to you, Amanda.
Excellent. And thank you so much, everybody. It is good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I suppose it's where you're joining us from today, but either way, hi. My name is Amanda Myers, and I'm head of product marketing at FullStory. Delighted to be coming to you today from Austin, Texas. If you have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. But today's session, this meeting could have been an email. I think many of us have felt that way over the last year, maybe longer, because product is no longer just working in a silo, engaging regularly with just UX or just development. You're increasingly being asked to work with a broader set of cross-functional stakeholders across the business. Everybody has input, everybody has feedback, and that's meaningful because cross-functional collaboration, communication happens when people with different skill sets and different, OKRs, KPIs, they come together to really focus on a greater goal, and they harness additional talents that might exist outside your product organization, different types of expertise. And what that does is, as a product manager, being part of this cross-functional team really gives you the opportunity to increase your effectiveness and your efficiency. When done well, this cross-functional collaboration can support decreases in churn rate, increased retention, increase in product signups, activations, MRR, business growth. However, the reality is, that's not always a vision we realize. I think there is a lot of talk about cross-functional communication and the benefits it provides, but there are also some drawbacks here. And I think, how do we manage that productivity in a world where suddenly now everybody is involved, everybody wants to participate? How do we kind of manage that as a PM organization? Lots of people are scheduling a lot of meetings. This may have been true for you, again, before COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, but some interesting statistics that were pretty eyebrow-raising for yours truly. In the United States, there are 55 million meetings held each week. That's at least 11 million per business day and over 1 billion meetings per year. The average employee participates in at least 8 meetings per week, with 30% of workers reporting they spend over 5 hours per week in meetings. I personally saw that statistic. For what it's worth, I'm at 14.5 hours of meetings this week. Surveys showing that 71% of those meetings are considered unproductive. So you have a group of people. My dad actually used to call it an expensive meeting. You have a group of really smart, really talented people in a meeting without an agenda, maybe, or without any sort of plan for the conversation. And what that leads to is an estimated 37 billion US dollars, 24 billion hours lost per year due to unproductive meetings. This may or may not look familiar to you, but when I see a meeting request that pops up on my calendar, it could be a meeting for a quick chat. If someone asks if I'm available for a quick call, can you hop on a quick call? Or you get a Slack message or a Teams message. Somebody wants to have a quick sync on the roadmap. Personally, when I get these messages, my heart sinks, and I'm getting better about it. But, there's often, for product managers in particular, in my experience, one of the things that we sort of think too is like, wait, I shared that with you, or I have a link to it on Notion or Confluence. I presented it at your team meeting last week. What do you need to know? And so for us, a lot of these meetings could realistically be emails even. I don't know if the scenarios look familiar to you, but these are the kinds of questions that product managers get all the time. Again, especially as our roles become more cross-functional and visible. When it comes down to your calendar, saying goes, don't expect to grab a tiger by the tail. You shouldn't expect a single action will instantly land you in this paradise of uninterrupted focus time. Before joining Full Story, I had the opportunity to be a VP of product. I've been a director of product. I've been a product manager. I've been a product marketer, a director of product marketing, all sorts of roles in between. I have also been in corporate marketing. I have also been in sales enablement. So for me, it is an area that's particularly a passionate topic because I see the challenges and the opportunities from all sorts of different perspectives, all sorts of different angles. And as product managers, as we as a product organization assume a higher profile role in driving some of these cross-functional relationships, there's an opportunity to think about how we maintain our sanity and our efficiency to make sure we're able to keep focused on what matters. And in my experience, it's a combination of people, processes, and tools. And we'll spend a little time today talking about each. First, when it comes to people, it helps obviously to have everyone aligned around a common goal. Is there a common use case? Is there a common strategic initiative that everybody is focusing on as a business? I think on some level, most of us know that. I mean, we're product managers, right? We're problem solvers. But I wanted to share a little bit about what we've been doing at Full Story and how product sort of sits at the nexus of all these different functions, how we're kind of using data. This is a very accurate representation of what some of our meetings, some of the meetings I sit in look like. You have stakeholders from all of these different functions, each with unique points of view, each with differing perhaps set of priorities, largely, what I'm doing this week, what's most important to me and to my team. But we're all rallied in our case around a goal of perfecting the digital experience. How do we communicate our progress to that goal and keep everyone aligned? When it comes to sort of the process, it goes a little like this. When we're looking to get and stay on the same page, a roadmap, in my estimation, is a living document. And sometimes the updates stay in your head. You're moving really quickly. Maybe, a sprint is proving to be particularly challenging. You've got a lot of different obligations you're trying to meet. You're also trying to incorporate user feedback. So you may not be going and updating every little piece of information on a roadmap, or you may not even have that view available to that cross-functional stakeholder group. For us, what we found to be really effective is to publish once a month and to have a commitment to the organization of publishing once a month, syncing once a month, getting together as a group to evaluate and to look at and to talk about all of the things you see represented here. You've got 3 phases, you've got alpha, beta, and GA, but you also have an area on the left that includes maybe items that are being considered for staging, items that are in discovery. These are really valuable for cross-functional stakeholders because often they are looking to see their thing represented there. The GA section, the beta section, selfishly very, very important for product marketers as we look to align go-to-market resources for all the different things that are going to talk about all the different products that the product management team is bringing to market. So this monthly kind of overview with its, product by stage, the development cycle, kind of what's on our radar on the left-hand side. And then I don't want to gloss over the bottom, which is really where we put our enhancements. We break them out separately from the new initiatives, which are listed along the top. Having them along the bottom, make sure that we're still aware of them as a broader stakeholder group, that we have an opportunity to discuss them. I think what's fascinating about this roadmap and why it's been perhaps so effective for us is that it allows us to meet the needs of multiple stakeholders, but it's not just an overview. It's also detail. So each of the items in the roadmap has a link to additional detail. It can include use cases. It can include kind of where it is in the cycle. If we have mock-ups, those are always fun to share with the broader stakeholder team. And what this does is it empowers people who are interested in learning more detail about a particular thing. It empowers them to go ahead and find that information without necessarily having to put that 15-minute meeting on our calendars. We also, in addition to a monthly roadmap, I know roadmaps change a lot, sometimes from month to month. We don't just do a monthly roadmap. We also publish weekly release notes. Again, this is a formal supplement to the work that's already underway, but it really is a readout for the broader stakeholder group of all of the things we're shipping in a given week. Sometimes that list is short, sometimes that list is long, but it's always valuable for that larger group to get up to speed on what customers may be seeing, on what prospects may see as part of a demo environment. We want everybody to be informed. It's been a really valuable exercise for us. I think it has lived in different places and in different formats, Google Slides, Notion. It's really evolving, but what we have is this commitment to giving the people a process that they can trust, where they're seeing the same information from us over and over again, similar format. They know that every month we update the roadmap. They know every week they're going to get release notes. And again, that helps us be more efficient because building that trust in the process can circumvent a lot of the sort of ad hoc meetings that appear on your calendar. And I'm not just telling you that as somebody who's a product manager or product management professional. I'm telling you that as somebody who works in a marketing organization who is oftentimes reaching out to you, wanting visuals, wanting to know what the status of this is or that because we want to put in a release. It is truly valuable across all stakeholder groups to have a process that can be trusted, that is transparent, and that is consistent from month to month. But it's not, that's a big part of what we do. And it's a big part of really aligning that cross-functional collaboration. I think one of the other things that we do too is we use data. It's very important to have data-driven decisions, as I'm sure everybody on this call would agree. We use data in a couple of different ways, and we use it as a cross-functional stakeholder group to really validate and inform priorities, to share perspective, to build empathy for that user experience. We use Full Story, our product that you saw at the beginning of this session in the video. We use Full Story on Full Story. And we use it to understand how our users experience our product. It's not just product management and engineering and UX using Full Story. As a marketer, I use Full Story. Other marketers do as well. We have some sales engineers who use Full Story because we're all trying to understand user behavior. And with Full Story, we've got two different types of insights that we're able to draw from a single data set. We either have the quantitative data or the qualitative detail. We call that the what and the why internally. But pairing the roadmap with this kind of validation through real user experiences has been hugely important for us. If you're using a different tool, I'd encourage you still to embrace the same sort of process, because having that proof is hugely valuable in keeping people aligned and making sure that you're working on the right things for that end user. We'll talk a little bit about quantitative data. The quantitative data, what is it? It is, scientific definition, a systematic approach that relies on an empirical investigation of observable phenomena. It is what is happening on a website. It is not subjective. They are aggregate numbers of all of the different behaviors that are occurring. Why is it important? It's important because of efficiency. You can look at a large sample size very quickly, and you can look at that behavior in aggregate. You can share those results with different parts of your organization. Let's say you have a sales organization and they have an annual number that they want to hit. And they are reaching out to you over and over again, because if you just had this one additional feature, they could sell a lot more. Or if you added this one thing, that's a huge upsell opportunity for us. Not saying that always happens in Full Story, but it's been part of my experience as a product manager in previous roles. I've been able then to go back to those stakeholders with data, to not derail that cross-functional collaboration, to not sort of upset the roadmap. I'm able to justify the data-driven decision with this empirical proof of what is happening on the website, what are users doing, how are they interacting with the tool. It also, I'd say, gives you the benefit of being descriptive. It is objective. Two, it is also something that is hugely important and very valuable in driving efficiency. You can, think about focus and alignment. You have quick visibility with data that into potential issues or successes. If you're an e-commerce company, you see conversion fall off a cliff. You may hear about that from a support agent in your organization. They're starting to get a lot of phone calls. You may actually see it first on a dashboard. You may see certain areas of a site where you've maybe introduced a recent update. You may see those, despite the best efforts in QA, you may see those starting to fail. And you may wonder, these are failing. Then you're able to see they're failing with people using a certain browser or a certain type of device. It allows you, in terms of that focus and alignment cross-functionally, it allows you quick visibility into the potential issues. It also allows you to celebrate your successes. We recently rolled out some new functionality in Full Story, and we've been measuring that functionality. We've been measuring adoption. We did a little promotion inside the product, but we were also monitoring usage of that feature. Is it meeting the mark? Is it doing what it set out to do when we had the detail in the roadmap? Is it really achieving those goals? And as we meet those goals, we're able to sort of reinforce the trust in that cross-functional collaboration by telling everybody about it. Hey, we built this thing, we shipped it, people are using it and getting tremendous value out of it. That's the data portion of what we use as a tool with Full Story. Qualitative data is a little fuzzier. So qualitative data seeks to explain how and why a particular phenomenon or behavior operates as it does in a particular context. And why is qualitative data important? Well, it's not, maybe I wasn't looking for, maybe something didn't show up. Maybe I didn't see something in the numbers. It happens when you're in their reviewing sessions, when you're accessing the qualitative data, whether it is related to something you saw in the product analytics or an exercise you're doing independently. We have Full Story users have watch parties, and they get together and they watch these kind of sessions. Qualitative data, the session, is really invaluable in explaining something which numbers alone are unable to reveal. Statistics can identify trends, but the human experience, that empathy, it can't be ignored. And when you look at the two in tandem, it's going to lead to conclusions with more accuracy, and everybody gets process out of it. So if we took, for example, let's say we have something come into the support queue, a whole bunch of calls are coming into the support queue about one area, a click to cart button failing, or maybe somebody is trying to do something in SaaS software. They are trying to run a particular report. It is failing, and you're hearing about this from support. You can go in and you can look at the quantitative data and you can isolate where that issue is happening. Why is it happening? You can make some educated guesses. As a cross-functional team, you know there was a new marketing campaign that went out that's linking to this. We know that UX may be testing a new color of button. We know that all of these different things may be happening. You can go and you can test all of the hypotheses to isolate why something is happening, why a trend is occurring in that user behavior, or you can go and you can watch a series of sessions and you can identify very quickly, based on watching the session, seeing what the user's behavior is, seeing what they're encountering in terms of challenges. You can do that, and then you go and you implement the fix because you know why things are happening. So you're able to isolate it. That creates a lot of additional efficiencies in an organization. And I think, as part of a cross-functional team, it's invaluable to show people why you're doing the work that you're doing. You can prove it with data, the quantitative data, those product analytics, layering in that why of the qualitative user experience is hugely beneficial, especially as you're working with people whose functions may not touch users every day. You may be working with a sales organization if you're B2B. You may be working with marketers who run demand gen campaigns, who do Google ads. They are not necessarily interacting with users with the same frequency, but as sort of this shepherd of that cross-functional collaboration, you have the opportunity to help them build the empathy. You have the ability to access the data through the tools, right? You have the ability to bring that data back into the process, bring the data into the roadmap, bring it into the feature detail, bring it into the conversations you're having with cross-functional stakeholders about what is coming, what is on your radar, what may be in staging. And then finally, you're able to make sure everyone is on the same page. We talked about that cross-functional group. It was one of the first slides where you've got CX and UX and dev and product and engineering. You have maybe a different engineering team. You have marketing, you've got sales. You have all of these different people with skin in the game. They want to know, again, that combination of people, process, having the right tools, having the right data is really how you're going to get the most bang for your buck, and how you can also make sure that you're not getting a lot of those meeting requests that could have been an email. And with that, we'll go ahead to Q&A. I'm going into Q&A, and hello to all the folks. I love seeing where people are coming from. It's always such a delight. Michael, I'm also an expatriated Houstonian. So Christian mentions that he used to spend 28 hours a week in meetings, and the pain is real. It does look like, that really does look like an accurate representation of my calendar. And what's fascinating is it is not necessarily isolated to where you sit in an organization. So if you are maybe a VP level, you're not necessarily sitting in more meetings. People who are front lines, the individual contributors, they're sitting in just as many meetings too. So it's not an isolated phenomenon in an organization. Let's see what else we've got here. How has the pandemic, question from Charlie, how has the pandemic remote work affected the amount of meetings you now have and combated constant Zoom calls? I can say, when I'm looking to support kind of cross-functional communication, and really kind of with product specifically, right? With roadmap is our example. I think one of the key things that I've done is I've learned to say no, first of all, and I've empowered my team to say no. But we're also huge fans of recording. And I think it's really important, to the extent whenever possible, if you are asking that cross functional group to make a decision in the meeting, to share materials in advance. It can be that same roadmap, it can be a link to the Confluence page, it can be some data, reports, sessions, whatever is going to be supportive in that environment. But it really helps ensure that people are coming to the meeting with sort of the context of what's going on. The other thing you would do, obviously, we do a lot of recorded calls as well. I've actually started, where possible, to record videos using Loom. I record the video and I shoot it off to people. So instead of having a meeting, they have 5 minutes of me talking, which is not necessarily a pleasure, but often a more effective use of their time. From Michael, VP schedule bi-weekly meetings, but always forgets to attend and ends up wasting my time 15 to 20 minutes before having to drop the meeting. It is a challenge. I say this as somebody who is an individual contributor who experienced it, and now who is a VP, often faced in that same situation. I can say from my own experience, the one-on-one meeting is kind of, it's precious. I don't reschedule those unless I absolutely have to. But I would encourage you to talk to your VP, talk to your product leader, and really make sure that they're available to you, to support you, to make those kind of important decisions, and to give you the guidance that you really deserve. Brandy, we send out regular updates, but not all stakeholders review. And so they come to the meetings with a ton of questions, comments that could have been solved if they've reviewed the material. Great point. I'm struggling to get these people to take time to review the info. It's sort of a behavior, and I would argue it's kind of conditioning. We also have the same issue. And full story, we're a very quickly growing company, so we always have new people coming in who don't necessarily have the context. I do think it's valuable to send out a reminder day before, just to say, hey, it's time, we're going to get together tomorrow, cross-functional stakeholder person in marketing. Would you please take the time to review this? We're going to be making decisions fairly quickly and coming out of the meeting X, Y, and Z. Outcomes for the meeting, always very helpful to include. Links to roadmap, again, any data that you have available. Personally, a recommendation, something that I've started doing more of in those kind of situations, is reminding somebody that you'd be happy to take something offline and provide a little more detail and context. That's obviously not something you can do all the time, but something that can be valuable. And I think too, that really helps drive the behavior that you want to see, that person coming prepared to a session. Prepared everything, docs, especially leadership and higher management. I understand. I think keep doing it. Christoph has the right idea. Keep doing it. I think people do read these documents more than you may think. The reminders are very helpful. And it's not that you're trying to handhold, it's that you're trying to create the right behavior. Make sure you're working with your product leaders as well, so they can model that behavior at the leadership level, and that they can remind people they're in a different set of meetings, that they can remind folks where the roadmap is, what's going on, why you're meeting on this topic, why it's important. I know as an individual contributor, sometimes I would email leadership and they wouldn't always open my email or pay attention to it. If it was coming from my boss, that tended to get a little bit more attention. So use them as your partner in crime to really drive the cross-functional work. It's in their best interest that you're efficient and that the product roadmap is moving along really quickly. People summarize the report in email subject, always really helpful. Let's see. A question for myself. What's your decision process on choosing to go with an email or a meeting? That's a great question, Christoph. If it is something that is, I tend to use a rule of 3. And the rule of 3 is as follows. It's really about, is this valuable to more than 3 people? And if I'm able to keep a distribution list small, then sometimes I go with a meeting. That's particularly true if I am making a decision about a roadmap, or if I am making, as a product marketer, if I'm working with our PM team as I'm working with the PM team on roadmap, go to market, we're looking at a particular feature. I don't want that necessarily to be a meeting. I want that to be an email. Here's an outline of my thoughts. I guess what I'm saying is the two are not always interchangeable. Sometimes one is used before the other. You can use email and you can drive that to a meeting. You can use a meeting and follow up with email. I tend to use the rule of three. Are more than three people involved, or more than three people required to help me make a decision? I think where you have a meeting, one of the key things, and probably the easiest way to think about it, do I need a decision coming out of this? Is there an action item that needs to come from this conversation? Often that is more easily achieved during a meeting. And with that, I believe we are at time, and we've gotten for most of the questions. Everybody has had such wonderful chat. I really do want to thank you guys for joining. And if you have any additional questions, my email is there. You're welcome to pop me a line anytime. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Amanda. That was a great session and lots of great comments and questions in the chat there as well. So yeah, thanks again, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay with us. We've got more content to come. Yeah, see you all soon. Bye.